Welcome to I Left the City, a show about the talented and skilled people who moved to Hastings County to find a wildly authentic life. I'm your host, Michelle Sampson. In this episode, we catch up with Paul Kite, owner of the art gallery Quinns of Tweed. We talk about how he found himself moving to Tweed and taking over a gallery without any previous experience in the art world, how he managed to quickly settle into a small town after a lifetime of city living, and why he recommends Hastings County to any professional that can work remotely. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. So Paul, for the people who are watching this on video, they will be able to see your beautiful home in the background. Right behind your head, there's a roaring fire, there's some beautiful brick. Yeah, there we go. Can you tell me where in this vast county you are living, roughly? I don't need your address.
Well, you could have my address. I'm in Tweed, and specifically on the main street, and at Quinns of Tweed. And this building's been here since 1880.
So are you living in the same building as the art gallery?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a much longer story, and you could make it a multi-part podcast if you like. But anyways, the very, very short story is that we ended up buying the gallery, and then we did some renovations, which included updating the upstairs part to a living area, and the backyard and some other things, and a few things in the store, but not a lot in the store, because we didn't want to take anything away from the original architecture. In fact, even before we got started, the local historian, Evan Morton, who's not with us anymore, came running up and says, "My name's Evan Morton. I'm the local historian, and you will not change anything in the store." I said, "Nice to meet you, Evan. Sure, we won't. We won't." And we didn't.
So you've stayed true to that vision.
We have.
We've got some time to delve into, more of your story. Maybe we can start with a little bit more about where you're originally from and, where have you lived before coming to Tweed?
So I grew up in Toronto in the East End near the beaches, and then moved to Ottawa when I was in my early 20s after college. And my background is in software. So I was working in software back in the time when we just stopped using punch cards. So some of your audience may have heard of punch cards. And then from there, found my way into business development and then started a few companies. And the last company was a software services company, which we had a U.S. office in near Washington, D.C. And that's where I was. And then we were acquired by an American company. Mr. Trump didn't like Canadians being there. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe not these days. Anyway, so the Canadians were coming back, especially the management, and that's how we ended up moving back to Canada, and then ended up coming to Tweed on a visit, just an overnight, and that's when we ran into the gallery and found out that it was for sale.
What year was that?
2018.
So what was your connection to Tweed? Like, did you have a sort of relationship with it before? Did you kind of stumble upon it?
Well, traveled to Tweed quite a bit because I grew up in Toronto, but had moved to Ottawa and raised a family there. And so it was before the 416 was in place. So the quickest route was along 7, down 37, to the 401, then into the east end of Toronto where my family was. Tweed was a natural stopping point, so I got to know Tweed there. So that's how we ended up knowing about Tweed, and used to come back and stay on weekends and the odd nights and got to know the gallery. Funny thing is about the gallery, when we came in, we got to meet Bev, who still works with us. She's our framer, and we got chatting, and it turned out that her partner, Patrick, his brother was best friends with my middle brother. Unfortunately, both of them are gone now, but we had this connection. And so actually my middle brother, Chris, had been in the gallery and even before I was.
Yeah. All right. So when they decided to put the gallery up for sale, they approached you, right?
Not intentionally. I was joking with Bev. I was telling her that we're moving back to Canada. And I said, don't know where we're going to live yet, but the Tweedsmere, it's burned down now, but it wasn't then. And I said, we're going to buy the Tweedsmere and run it as a pub, jokingly, because I would never do that. Never. but maybe if I had it wouldn't have burnt down. Anyway, I digress. So Bev said to me, "Oh no, you don't want to buy the pub. You guys want to buy the gallery. She says it's for sale." I said, "Oh, it is?" Because there was no for sale sign around. And so we met the owner for the first time. His name is Paul as well. And my partner's name is Paula. So we got lots of Pauls going around. But met him, and he took us for a quick tour. And we left about an hour later. And Paula and I were talking on the way to Toronto. I was dropping her at the airport, and I said, we agreed that if the inspection worked out, that we would relocate to Tweed and become art gallery owners. And that's how we ended up. Just a fluke.
I don't recall hearing in your list of jobs and turns that your career has taken anything necessarily in the art world. So was that nerve-wracking, like not having experience in the art world, to sort of make that leap into becoming gallery owners?
On the one hand, the business side of it didn't faze me at all because I'd had several businesses and accountants and lawyers. So that part of it wasn't too bad. And I had an appreciation for art. I've always loved art. Never saw a way to make a living out of it, as most artists would tell you. It was a transition period of understanding how to sell art. But really it came down in the end to just working with people, talking to them, finding out what their needs were, and then teaching myself more about the art and, more about the different types of media, artists, the different genres, the periods of art. But in the end, again, it's just listening to the customer, the client, and really, because they decide what art they buy. I don't decide for them. And I think that works well for most sales activities anyways, for the most part. But really for art, I've had people come in many, many times and not buy. And they come in and you go, well, here comes John, not a real person. Here comes John. He's going to have a look around again. And then they buy something just because that next trip, they found it, right? And it could have been something they saw 2 years ago or a year ago or something completely new. Art is like that, right? You just know what you like.
Yeah. So tell me a bit more about your clientele. Who's the John, who's coming in? Where are they from? What are they like?
Well, that's about how long's a piece of string? It's basically, you even had children decide which art they want or which art they want their parents to buy. A lot of people are from out of town. We've had some people as far away as Germany. Very few sales over the website, but we can talk about that later because I see a change there. So mostly people, I mentioned earlier going back and forth between Toronto and Ottawa. A lot of people coming this way, either Kingston to Peterborough, they go through Tweed, and so they'll stop here. And it's really nice because they come in and they go, wow, I never knew there's an art gallery in Tweed. And it's huge. We have 6,000 square feet of art space. We've had people come in that are just normal, everyday working people, and then some very rich people that have come in as well. There's just a whole strata. And it's like the artwork. We have historical Canadian works. We have contemporary works. We have abstract works, landscapes. It just still lifes everything. Mostly regional painters. Most of our contemporary work are regional painters, local painters, and people in the area. And then the Canadian historical work ranges that we have a few pieces by the Group of Seven and to that era around the Group of Seven.
Wow. So really good variety.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, you kind of mentioned, didn't really think there was enough, didn't really think you could make a career from art. It's always tough to be an artist, but also, I think to be an art dealer. Was there enough art buyers in Tweed to sustain the gallery?
We do have a great local customer base, but we do rely on people coming through the town that have cottages here or have cottages here. They come and they relocate. They've been coming to the gallery for a number of years through referrals. We've had people come and specifically stop to see us. So we're not out in the middle of nowhere. Instead of the middle of nowhere, we're in the middle of somewhere. And that somewhere is a crossroads between major centers. So that helps. And then also, people finding us on social media and through our website.
Yeah, so I guess you had some benefit of, inheriting a certain amount of customer base from the previous owners. Did you do any additional, marketing or outreach or anything to build your clientele?
So yes, we used radio, which actually was fairly um, effective. People did hear us on the radio and came in because of that. Unfortunately, it's very expensive. Um, Facebook and our website, Instagram, and also I started to write. You asked me, I didn't have an art background, but had a very deep interest in art and history. So I started about 2.5, 3 years ago now, writing a daily article for our local paper, which the Tweed News, which is one of the last few independent newspapers in Canada. And they graciously let me reprint my articles, which is like an essay every week, which I never did in high school, but now I do it every week. I started to do them thinking I would use them for blog material, but let them print in the newspaper first. And so I did that, and I've been doing it every week, say almost for 3 years now. Amazingly, people read them, which is nice, and that attracts more people.
I think this might be a good time to talk about the website and your shift more towards that.
Okay. I'm migrating the website to more of an online platform for purchasing art and art services, because we don't just sell art, we help with restoration, estimation for insurance purposes. That bogey or the big COVID event changed things. I didn't think art would be one of those things that, I have to see it, I have to touch it if I can, and a lot of people would just see the texture. But I found that people, they know what they like, and they know they can return it if they don't like it. So there is that the Amazon type of attitude out there, right? I can purchase it. Oh, it's the wrong size. Send it back. So I found that people are shifting. They're accepting to buy art online. There's a generational change in people that are buying art and selling art. We're starting to see more people in their 30s and 40s, maybe starting to collect art. They've moved past this sort of, I'm not trying to say this in a derogatory way, but IKEA art, just sort of decorative art. Okay. They're thinking more about what they like or something original, even if it's original prints, right? And then there's people of my age, the baby boomers, who are downsizing or remodeling and getting rid of rooms, and they don't have as many walls. And so there's more artwork coming into the marketplace, and you can throw it on Kijiji, you can put it on the other popular auction sites. But if it's not properly displayed, not properly explained, then one, you won't sell it. Two, you're not going to maximize how much money you can get. So with this move to changing the website to more of an online platform, those types of services are things that I'm going to be focused on.
So you are, the building was sold unto you, and now the plan is to move this to an online business and sell the building to the next owner, right?
Exactly. And I think my hope is that somebody will still carry it over as an art gallery, or an art gallery with a cafe in it, or a barbershop or something, or turn it back into a general goods store, which is what it was originally. That would be very exciting if somebody did that, but that will be up to the new owners.
Will you yell at them to make sure that they keep the historic charm?
I will probably echo Evan Morton and come running in and say, "I'm Evan Morton, don't change a thing." I'll never forget that.
Unlike him, you do have some power over, who this gets sold to.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch from, the business side of what brought you to Tweed to the more personal kind of residential side. You've spent much of your life in cities. Did you have any reservations about moving to a rural area?
If I didn't know Tweed, probably I would have had more apprehension about moving here. But the fact I was familiar with Tweed, had visited Tweed, stayed in Tweed, had been, it was close to the places where we do have friends and relatives. And so there was less apprehension. but I had never lived in a small town before. Toronto, Ottawa. I lived in Arlington, just across from the Washington, D.C. So there were always large cities. But having come here, and even though we're selling the building, we're not leaving the area. We love the area, the people, the community. We're involved with the arts community, both theater and the visual arts. I'm involved with the Tweed Area Arts Council. We're actually producing videos now called In Conversation with local artists. We're on our producing the third one now and recording the fourth one later this week. So that's moving along. I'm with Kiwanis and met a lot of people through Kiwanis. And it's great giving back to the community with that and a lot of fellowship there. And actually my partner joined because Kiwanis lets women join now.
So you're very involved. Did you get involved right away when you moved, or was there sort of more of a transition kind of culture shock settling in kind of period?
Well, actually, it was fairly sudden. People came in and introduced themselves, and then a fellow from Kiwanis came in, and it wasn't right away. It wasn't the next day, but maybe within a month or two, I'd been asked to come out for Kiwanis one night and then joined them. And I'd been with Kiwanis many, many years ago when I was in my 20s. And I was a little apprehensive because back then it was an old boys club. But it's not like that at all today. It's actually a lot of fun. And especially in a small town like this, I mean, you're always in the newspaper. You're always involved with different events and everybody knows who you are. And I also play hockey, still play hockey 3 times a week here. And so I meet a lot of characters there as well.
What surprised you most about living in a rural area?
So what I found refreshing and surprising and actually refreshing living in a small town was that it sometimes doesn't feel like a small town, right? It feels very friendly, but people are very familiar with what's going on in the world. It's not like you're isolated here and people don't know. In fact, they do. I mean, you go and have breakfast and somebody goes, "Oh, that Trump guy, he did this today." And I went, "Oh, that only happened this morning. You heard that already?" It's not a small town in the colloquial sense where it's isolated. Not at all.
Is there anything you miss about the city?
Oh, I miss the rush hour traffic. I miss the expense of living in the city. What else do I miss? No, I don't really miss it. I mean, it is. We do have restaurants here. You can look from here. I can go to the beer store, walk to the beer store, walk to the liquor store, go next door to get my car fixed and change my tires, go across and buy an old record. In fact, there's several vintage stores, so I can go. There's several you can go to, the post office and 2 drugstores. I mean, one of the nice things about living in a small town is just that everything's local, and they get to know who you are, and they get my favorite cigars when I go to the gas station. They see me outside and they already have them on the counter, that kind of thing. God knows what they're going to do when I quit smoking. But for people that live in larger cities, because there are a lot of people that have moved here just outside of Tweed or in Tweed, everything is so accessible and quick. I mean, you even if you lived out in Sulphide or down the road in Chisholm, it's so easy to get to where you need to go to without any traffic. I mean, if there's 4 or 5 cars on Highway 37 going to Belleville, you're kind of frustrated because, there's a lot of cars until you get to Toronto and you realize it's nothing.
Yeah, and there's lots of places in Toronto where you couldn't walk to all of the places, those necessities that you listed, right?
No.
So, I mean, the purpose of this podcast is, we're hoping that the people who are listening, or many of the people who are listening, are city people who are thinking about making this move. Maybe they're a little apprehensive. They want to get a little bit more information about small town life in Hastings County in particular. Would you recommend that other professionals make the move to Hastings?
Well, I would. So if you say other professionals, so there's a lot of near retirement age people that are moving here or people that are retired. But if I was a young professional and able to work online, you don't have to go buy a $2 million condo in Toronto. You can move to the Hastings area and buy a really nice place. And if you want a water view, I mean, there's lots of water around here and trees and forests. So there's lots here to, if that's the type of environment that you like and you can work from home, then that's perfect.
If they were, really on the fence, is there anything else you would add to convince them and push them over to the Hastings County side?
Well, okay. There's a lot here. You heard me. There's theater, there's music, there's all sorts of community events. Almost every weekend in the Tweed area alone, there's almost something going on all year. And outdoor activities for people. Now, if you're sitting on the fence, you're wondering, you're only 2 hours from Toronto. You can park at the Belleville train station. I think it's $7 for the day or $11 overnight or less. Hop on a train for a super saver fare for $35 and go to Toronto. It's easy commuting distance to Ottawa or Toronto or Kingston or Peterborough. Financially, it's a lot less expensive to purchase a place, and taxes are lower, property taxes, of course. And there's just a lot of a lot of things to do. You got to seek them out. But almost every community has something going on.
That's a great endorsement. Any final thoughts before we close this out?
If you're listening to this and you're thinking about having a change of location, moving to somewhere smaller and quieter, Tweed or anywhere in the Hastings County area, there's beautiful places to relocate to. Lots of activities. You'll never get bored. Lots of nice people. And it's just a great place to live.
That's it for this episode. To learn more about Quinns of Tweed, check out the links in the show notes. And if after hearing this episode, you're inspired to move your home and work to Hastings County, head over to investinhastings.ca to find startup and relocation advice, commercial property listings, and lots of other business resources. New episodes of I Left the City are coming soon. To make sure you don't miss them, subscribe now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, or YouTube. I Left the City is an initiative of the Hastings County Economic Development Department. It's produced by Storied Places Media and hosted by me, Michelle Sampson. Thanks for listening.